Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the individual speakers, commentators, guests, experts, and our hosts. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the network, broadcaster, channel, and/or program's policy or the views held by this network, broadcaster, channel, or program. The network, broadcaster, channel, or program cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program.
I'm talking on mute, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Fem Talk. Fem Talk Nation, we love you, we miss you, and we are in, once again, season 5, as we announced last week. So I want to bring in Dr. Melissa Simmons.
Hello, how are you? 5.
Season 5, everyone. Can you believe it, Dr. Melissa, that we are in season 5?
I don't believe it. I really don't. I mean, it's something that, when we started, I can't believe it's 5 years ago that we started this. That to me is amazing.
I know.
And every day we do this, when we start, it just flies by. But it'd be nice to maybe one day in our 5th year reflect on all of the, some of my favorite shows. And
we'll have to do a compilation of different shows, little snips of different shows.
Hey.
And we have our beautiful Shima Shishi, who is actually on a cruise this week. So we just want to send her a lot of love. She lost her baby puppy, and we just want to give her love, surround her with love. So everybody out there, please send her some hearts and some hugs, and reach out and tell her that you're thinking about her. We love her, and we love our little pup as well. So just wanted to give her that, send her some love here, and we miss you today. But we hope that you are out, on the ocean, able to enjoy yourself and try to relax and just refresh and restore and rejuvenate.
Amen. I tell you, I feel for her. We lost one of our puppies over the holidays also.
I didn't know that.
Tiggy went to the dog heaven also. It is it's not easy. You hear about people in there, and pets, and our pets, they're part of our lives. And there's so much you do with them. And, when they're not there, you feel the void immediately. You feel the sense of loss, and, you wouldn't even think you would feel that way, but you so do. And so I send my love to Shima. I send my love out to Ari. I send our love out to Ashley. It's hard. It's hard. So
sure.
I get it. And
really quickly on that note too, like people always say that, right? Especially, and I'm not a pet owner, but pet owners usually say that, and Shima and I were having this conversation too, like, you wouldn't expect that it's going to touch you that much, but why not? And me, as a non-pet owner, I still think about like just the relationship that I see that you have with your pets, and they're like your children, and
they
you love
really
them.
are.
You
think of them that way. You take care of them that way. I get a sense of it, and I'm not trying to prolong this, but I get a sense of loss every time I leave the house and she's still here. I really do. And every time I can, I say, can she come with us? And Lamar, why she gotta come? Why gotta come with us? Because there is that attachment. And I know for me, I feel good when I'm with her. I feel this sense of, that's why a lot of people, they have service pets, because they're able to give them this sense of hope and happiness, and take away some of that feelings of loneliness. They do so many things, our pets.
Yeah, yeah.
So I totally, I feel for my sister and my daughters, because it's been a hard season.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Absolutely.
Love, love, love. Yes. Run in peace. I'm sure they're enjoying themselves.
Absolutely.
With no pain now. They just get to enjoy.
Just get to run around and have fun,
Mhm.
right? um, so we also wanted to talk about, what's been happening in California with the wildfires. Our heart goes out to the people in those areas too who are losing just their homes, right? And people that are being misplaced as a result of these fires. We already know that the death toll is at 24, and any loss of life is just horrible. So to know that people are losing their lives, they've lost 40,000 acres of land already as a
Mhm.
result of these fires too, and the high winds that go with it. And it's usually this time of year where this happens. It's not uncommon, but it's so unfortunate for people to have to deal with this. So we wanted to highlight some of the areas and how they've been containing these fires. The Palisades fire has been 17% contained, which is not a high number at all. The Eaton fire is 35% contained, and again, still that's not a high number. The Hearst
Mhm.
fire is 97%, so we're grateful for that and hoping that they can get over with that 3% and contain those fires to the point where they are put out. And then the auto fire is 25% contained, and Scout is 0. So we are praying for the firefighters in that area who are dealing with these fires and working rigorously to put the fires out. And then we just want to say, that our hearts go out to the families that are dealing with all of the loss of life and loss of, their homes and being misplaced. We want to make sure that we highlight them as well. And
Mhm.
I know that you had another area that you wanted to highlight as well. Did you
Yeah.
have the stats on that one?
I don't have the stats, but the Altadena area out in California, in the LA area, is predominantly a lot of, you know, um, Black families that's been in this area for 50, 40, 30 years. Like, they've spent their whole lives there. They've had homes there for forever, and the devastation that's hit them has been tremendous. They don't have it, they're not part of the millionaire, um, region that it hit in the Palisades. So they've lost everything, and with the lot that has been going on with the insurance companies canceling insurance, fire insurance, right before the season came up, a lot of them don't know how they're rebuilt. So there's been a lot of people, just encouraging to support, a lot of the families in Altadena, and just help them, if you can. There's a few, you know, um, donation sites for some of those families, but just don't forget about them.
Yeah,
They, because they don't know it, and it's so sad just to see, so many of them are on social media just showing you that they don't have anything anymore. Just to hear the stories. I've been here, one gentleman was up there. I've been there 40 years, and everything I had was in that house. These are areas that the wildfires just didn't hit before.
mm,
I just wanted to read this piece. Like, a lot of people said, like, what happened that was so much different, and they said that it was obviously it was a dry period, but there was a perfect condition that really pushed the fire even to the brink and even further than ever before. Um, they talked about the different thing called a hydroclimate whiplash that
mm,
occurred in that area between the dryness and then the Santa Ana winds, and even the mountain range, how all of those circumstances came together to really push those fires. And if we could imagine a hurricane that has 60, 80, 100 mile per hour winds, imagine a hurricane with flames.
fire, right? Yeah, yeah,
That's what happened out there with flames,
yeah,
because those, when the Santa Ana winds kicked up and that system in the mountains kind of all came together, they were talking about 40, I mean, not 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, in some points, 100-mile-per-hour winds hit. So that fire was just, it was uncontainable.
It went rapid, yeah.
It was
And
rapid.
it's horrifying. I wanted to, because I like to highlight these type of things because it's so outrageous, right? That the systems that are in place that are supposed to protect people, that people pay for usually their whole lives, get shut down at a time like this. It's disheartening when you know that this is normal for this area. So coverage, it should be undoubtable that they should have coverage, right?
No.
Like it shouldn't be challenged because you know that this happens in this area.
Not now. If you want to cancel it after this, okay, go ahead. I'll go seek my own insurance after that. And that's going to be hard. The word on the street is that this has been years of this devastation, and a lot of the insurance companies that's been covering these insurances are at the brink. Yeah, but I know how insurance works, and these policies and the reserves. Let me say this: the reserves that a lot of these insurance companies have, they go back years, and there's millions of dollars.
Yeah. And let me say this on top of that too. It's not just the reserves. They invest that money. They're not sitting on that money. That money's not just sitting in a bank.
If you know the laws,
money. They're multiplying their own profits, so they should be able to cover what they know is going to happen in a certain
when they need to cover certain things.
Absolutely, especially when people are paying their policies. Come on.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to put that out there. I don't want to give it too much life. You know what I mean? But it's worth saying.
It is appropriate to mention because this is when we need you the most.
Yeah.
This is why you have insurance. If I need it for one time in my life, I need you to be there for that one time. Most people don't dip into health and property insurance, but one or two times. For the rest of those months and years, we're paying.
Yeah.
So the percentage of use is per person is like 99 to 1, maybe in 95 to 5. You don't use your policies like that.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think this is not the season to even do that to these families. I would hope all those companies revert what they did. And I'm sure if they don't, I'm sure there'd be a court system to do that, because that's not what you do. So, put it out there that, do the right thing. Do the right thing.
Absolutely.
The last thing they need to worry about is, how do I rebuild? It's already a devastating situation they're all going through. To not have anything, to not have memories, not have pictures, to not have clothing, to not have anything.
Yeah.
And then to turn around and this is what you do to people? No.
Yeah.
Not okay. Not okay.
So for all of the nonprofit organizations that are out there, I'm sure they are, taking donations. We want to make sure that you go out there, seek an organization that you want to support, that is going to support the families. I always say this when it comes to supporting organizations: support those that will send the resources that you provide, be it money or clothing or food, whatever that is. Know that they're going to pass that along to the families that are in need. So do some homework before you start to donate, because you want to make sure it's going directly to the people that really need it the most.
People. I will say this, and I just saw this. Thanks, Nick. Is and the reason why Altadena took such a severe hit, unlike Pasadena, is that they don't have their own police nor fire departments. So and shout out to all of the volunteer fire workers that have been attacking these fires, and shout out to the incarcerated firefighters. There's a number of persons that are out there that are incarcerated that are vigorously fighting these fires. So shout out to all of them, because without them, we wouldn't have containment that we have today. So shout out to you again. Where our love and support is with everyone, and we just hope that that moment of the after moment to rebuild comes for everyone.
Yeah.
Because we are strong. We are strong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, don't forget to donate. Find an organization that resonates with you, and donate so that people can get what they need.
Mm-hmm.
We want to also mention. I have to show the book. You've heard us talk about this book last week, and we have started the book club with Radical Candor by Kim Scott. So we want to
get up. I had to get up because it's right there.
Get up and get the book. So I know that you were excited about the 4 quadrants, and you mentioned this last time. You want to walk through those?
Yeah, I think what I like about this is they do highlight kind of good behavior and bad behavior, and Radical Candor really highlights being radically good. Mm-hmm. Being radically considerate, because it's easy. Too many people, because I won't say everyone, because I've never been, found in the 2 bottom quadrants. I'll say that. I don't. I was taught to behave better. I'll just
right. That's right.
So it talks about really raising the bar and how you treat those in in your circle of leadership, and you see the access here. North, south, and east and west. And what they do is the author gives us quadrants in terms of where we need to, what does leadership behavior look like? Mm-hmm. And it talks about the two dimensions in the top quadrants. Talk about the radical candor, and the 2 talks about on the top is care personally plus challenge directly, and then it talks about the ideal balance, and then care personally, and then not challenge. So sometimes we care personally, and again, I think personalities lend into this a lot. Mm-hmm. And if you know that you're challenged on some of these things, you need to be careful. I know I don't like confrontation. I don't like confrontation. Okay. However, I can't care for a person at work and not deal with poor behavior or their inability to move to another level, or how they respond to certain circumstances at the workplace. Yeah. So caring personally for the people that work for you and with you is obviously in the top quadrant, but you have to make that choice to what I like is challenge directly. Meaning you challenge them. This year, let me go back a few months prior. I was one of the clients I had. I was finding them. I was trying to help them find a candidate for their chief financial officer, and I reviewed a lot of resumes and invited to the interview process a handful of people I knew, at least I knew on a business level, to participate in that. And to my chagrin, as some of them were interviewing, they really wasn't, they wasn't selling themselves. They really wasn't doing all that they need to do. So, a couple of them called and was like, well, how did I do in an interview? And I was like, oh, well, okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that more. So I admittedly was caring, but, I avoided the situation. And as fate would have it, it came back up. So there was another opportunity to bring people back to the table. And there was actually another opportunity in another place I was working with to bring one of those other candidates, one of the candidates I dealt with in that one, to another position. And I said, and I told myself, look, if you're going to do this, you're going to be very honest with them up front about what they need to improve on. And Tracy, I'm telling you, that was not an easy conversation for me. Because how do you tell somebody you didn't do well on that interview?
Just like that. No.
I wanted them to be successful. So I cared about them. So that combination of that ultimate was caring, and that's what they talk about radical candor, is that caring personally and challenge directly. I had to move myself into. Yeah. So I said, you know what, honestly, I'll tell you why you didn't get the job. These are the things that I really want you to improve on. So I didn't focus on the negative piece. I said, improve on how you sell yourself, smile a little bit. I told one person, fix your face up, put a little bit of makeup and lipstick on. Don't need smile in the camera. People, a lot of people miss it because it's virtual and they don't do what needs to happen because you're not in front of them.
Yeah.
But
they can still see you.
They can see you, twitching and all that kind of stuff. They can see all of that. So I pulled it out of myself. I thought about how I would say it, and both people I worked with took it very well. And guess what? Both of them got the job.
All right.
Going forward. So I know it meant a lot. It was truly caring for them to have said it. Yeah. If I would not have said it, I would not have given them the advantage they needed to secure the position.
Yeah.
So,
and I love that she goes through that in this book, because oftentimes I think people feel like you're not supposed to care personally for the people that you work with. And that's just a myth, right? Like you should, as a leader, you should care personally for the people that are working, not just for you, but laterally and even those above you, and be able to give that feedback. That's what good leaders do, right? To be able to challenge at all levels, even if it's somebody who works above you, right? In the hierarchy of things, right? So I love that she talks about that and she goes through that, because I know when I first started out in corporate, it was like you had to, they painted a picture, right? Until you started going to leadership seminars, they painted a picture that you're not supposed to care, that you're supposed to go in there and you're supposed to be aggressive. And, way back when I started, it was more of a man's world too, right? So it looked a little different for women than it does now, and we're still having to be challenged and grow through that. But I like that she talks about that, because that's the place where you get the most results, when you actually care and you can communicate that care in a way that's going to help you, like you said, challenge them to be better, to do things different, to think different, to want more, right? So I love that she goes through this in the book.
And as you can imagine, the two bottom quadrants is challenge directly but don't care, and then the both of them is don't care and don't challenge,
right?
Like passive, whatever,
right?
I'll just fire you, kind of foolishness.
Yeah.
And I say foolishness because, and let me be clear, can you be successful can the business be successful in all four of these environments? Absolutely, because it happens. Can you be more successful if you eradicate the bottom two and you focus more on the top two? Absolutely.
Yeah.
People are looking for the average worker today is looking for quality of life. And our generation, is it generation Z? Is it Z? Is it Z? I know it's not A. Our generation Z people, they will walk out.
Right.
You play with the bottom two.
Totally different climate, right?
See you later. They're just not staying. They're not going to be abused. They have, this generation, which my, I think 1.5 of my children are part of, another 1.5 is part of the other one, because they both feel it. But my last one is definitely Z.
Yeah.
And that one is not staying. You challenge him wrong. And, and I will say he got a little bit of the bottom two quadrants and he's gone. Because you don't, look, I don't have to stay here. I don't need that. A lot of them live at home still or have options, and I don't need I don't need that. And I agree. I don't think they should be abused. I know we didn't have a lot of those options, so you kind of dealt with it. We didn't have, go to HR. Well, I back in the day, I didn't have HR to go to. You didn't have all those rules and laws. So I remember being very badly treated. I remember somebody screaming at the top of their lungs at me. And I think I shared that before. All I could do was look at the person and start crying. I mean, what am I going to do? It scared him enough so he never did that again, because he said, who sits there and cries? But I did. But that was really back in the day. I think I was working in corporate maybe 5 years by then. So I was young. I did not know what to do. But would I do that today? Absolutely not. I don't. I want to have it done to me, and I wouldn't do it to anybody else.
Yeah.
So it would go both ways.
Yeah, I've always been a challenger in that space, because I always felt like just as much as you're giving me a paycheck, I have something to give here. I'm offering you something, and if you don't know how to take it, that's not my fault. I'm going to challenge you so that you really get to know who I am, right? And I'm going to do
Kudos
it
to
with
you,
integrity,
Tracy.
and
I
I'm going to do
never
it with
did.
love, and I'm not going to be disrespectful. But my words are going to mean something to you when I do challenge you. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to defame your character. I'm not going to be belligerent about things, but I always went in challenging anyone. It didn't matter what position they were in. It was just I needed to prove to you that I'm worth it. You know what I mean? I'm smart. I'm here for a reason. So allow me to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
But you
Many, but the average person won't. And that's why so many people deal with these as we call bad bosses that really treats them horribly. Again, recently went to another place trying to reform their department, and a few people telling me about the experiences they had with their former bosses, and I was like, you got to be kidding! They did that, I mean, people still treat people badly, and I don't think, thank God for people like you, Tracy, that will stick up and talk for themselves. But none of these people ever even thought about going to HR and telling them what was going on, or going to somebody. They was just hoping they would know. Like, don't you know? Don't you see them? And I think that's what a lot of people, don't you see that? And because they think the top person sees them behaving this badly, that they would definitely correct it.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. If they do see it, and even sometimes they do see it, they don't feel like
it's acceptable to them, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes it's acceptable, right?
Exactly.
I can remember, starting out in the investment banking industry, right? And some of the behavior was just accepted, right? It's just what they did, and the majority of my tenure, right? It was a man's world, so to speak, right? And then women started trickling in, but because that space was that way, just the inappropriateness of how they handled situations, how they handled people that were reporting to them, it was ridiculous. But it took a certain level of women to start to speak up.
It
and
took
say,
brave women
this is not
to
going to work.
say, not me, not me anymore.
I can remember a young lady coming to me crying. She was working on a project with me, and my manager yelled at her. And she came to me crying. And I said, no, we're going to correct this right now. We're going to go to him. And I went in there and I said to him, she's doing this because I told her to do this way. And this is the reason why. And he backed down because he knew that, okay, she knows what she's talking about. He couldn't understand from this young lady why she was doing it the way that she was. But I said, we're going to handle this now. We're not going to push this under the rug. We're going to go to him directly and we're going to communicate. Sure. And that's the only way to really get some results. And he backed down. And then he respected her too more after the fact. But he got her to the point where she was crying, where she was hysterical, and came in and said, I don't feel good about the way he spoke to me. So
yeah, and I think that is where we need to, like, now it's I don't tolerate that. And now, I do everything the total opposite, operating in that, that top area of care personally and challenge directly, which is, that's radical candor. That's radical candor.
Yeah.
And the other ones, even that top one that I said I functioned in at first was ruinous empathy, meaning I was I had the care, but I was not giving them the best information to make them better. So it's very similar to oh gosh, and when I saw empathy, it came to me, but again, it's called ruinous empathy.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be that. And then the other two talks about that obnoxious aggression, meaning, I'm going to challenge you, but I don't really care about you. So, we don't need that. And like you said, I think that was such a staple in the 80s and 90s, and and until the 2000s rolled around, when people said enough is enough.
Yeah.
And it wasn't talk about obnoxious. It was even beyond that.
Yeah.
And then the last piece they talk about is that manipulative insincerity, meaning they use it to manipulate. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, I call that the narcissist almost, where, they're already sick in their head, and now they're going to manipulate you to even get you to work more because you're so scared. You know what I'm saying? Or or they find that weakness in you. Yeah, your kids need this money. Like they use something against you to push you to work. So they really, what comes out of their mouth and how they treat you really is manipulative in the amount, and the fact that person knows you just can't walk away. Yeah. Like I remember one of the people I worked for, she knew certain people, for lack of a better word, couldn't leave the job. They probably got the job, they didn't have a degree, and was kind of stuck getting a good salary because they've been there so long, but really don't have the option to leave. You know what I'm saying? Because if they went somewhere else, they wouldn't have the same amount. They wouldn't be paid the same amount. And she would use that against them. Well, you can't go anywhere. So since and I remember I used to let's watch. I said, "Who is that?" I like where does this come from? And it was a manipulative but very mean way to go about it, and people do that. But what you're motivating is really a person into a dislike and hatred against you. And I'll just say this: be careful, because you don't know what can make that person flip, and when they flip, you don't know what they're going to do.
Right. And just for just normal business as usual, right? It's just a lack of production that happens when you're treating people with aggression or that manipulative insincerity, right? I want to say really manipulative insecurity, because they're insecure if they're treating people that way. But the lack of production, right? And then it doesn't look good on you as a leader. Like you right. want to foster people to be better, because you look better, they look better, people move on, they grow, they build their own careers. But you lose something in the process too, and that's what I don't think people think about when they're being so selfish and they start to exercise this aggression and manipulation. They don't think about the backlash that comes to them, even
the backlash. And I know we need to go on a break, and last thing I'll say, and we can talk about later, is I'm a big believer, be careful how you treat people, because the same people you see going up will be the same people you see go down. This is a small universe now.
Absolutely.
And I can't tell you how many places I personally have been where I see the same people, where they know of me. I can't hear that enough. Oh, you're Melissa. You're Dr. Simmons. Okay, somebody's talking. I remember you. And it's that you take your reputation with you. That's the only thing you take with you all the time, is your own reputation.
Absolutely.
So as you move throughout things, people look at you and say, yeah, I used to work for that person, I'll never work again. They hear all of that. So I think just be careful. But let's take a break.
Every industry is a small world, right?
Yes.
In every industry is a small world. So be careful. Yep. But let's take that break, and we will be right back. We are back, everyone. Welcome back. Before we left for break, we were talking about radical candor. So let's bring Dr. Melissa back in. All right. And we want to make sure that you continue to join us on this journey as we explore this book, Radical Candor. You can see that there's different covers, same book, though, same content. So, take this journey with us. We'll be talking about the book, on multiple episodes here. So go get the book. Go get it. We just did chapter 1, so you still have time to really join and dive into the conversation.
And one of the things I'm going to definitely do each year as I do my coaching and my leadership development, and that's coming up soon, is I always like to give a book. And I think this may be one of the books I give. I have 2 books to consider, but this may be one. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I'm going to need 2 pieces that I'm in terms of those quadrants. So when we talk about that quadrant of caring and challenging directly, how do you, it talk one of the comments that is made by the author Brene Brown. She talks about balance praise with criticism, meaning don't even worry about the criticism, mention it, but balance it. You're really doing a good job. Mm-hmm. You really did good. Like when I did have to go back to those people that did the interview, I said, what you did well was this, and this really went, and they remembered that. I said, so as you move forward, let's consider different things that you could do to impress them even further. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't focus on one person. I did tell him, I didn't specifically say, like, a lot of people, I just said it, like, a lot of people like, and a lot of people use those kind of things to think about how to talk. Mm-hmm. When you think about how to talk, you tend to like hesitate. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the hesitation comes out with a word you say a lot, or with a or something like that. So one of the things I talked about was, okay, I did notice in your interview there was a couple of times where you kind of used pauses that was noticeable. Mm-hmm. I didn't get into all of it. I said, so instead of doing that, why don't we consider doing this? And one of the tips I gave them, it was funny. They actually, so now when I saw the next interview, they actually used the tip. And it worked, and actually worked to their advantage, because then people were impressed that he did that. And I said, wow, look at something just to help one thing to start, to kind of rectify something became a positive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think the focusing on the balancing the praise and the criticism is so important, because we don't need to go over. People know, when you bring things to people's attention, most of the time they know it anyway. So there's no need. They're already nervous, or whatever the situation is. There's no need for you to kind of harp on that. But you now encouraging a person, really means a lot.
Yeah, and I would even challenge people to not even think of it as criticism. I think people put that negative connotation on criticism and just think of it as correction, right? It's something that I need to further myself. And if you look at it that way, then you'll take those tips, you'll move forward, you'll be able to do better, like you said, the young man did in his second interview, in his next interview, right? So it's correction. It's not really, criticism is not a bad thing, but I think people think it is. So, they're a little turned off by it, which is why I think the author says, be able to balance the praise with the criticism.
Yeah.
But
I said Brene Brown and Kim Scott. Sorry.
It's Kim Scott. Yeah. Absolutely. So we have another topic that we want to discuss with you tonight, especially here at the top of the year, when people are struggling to go back to make sure that they are setting up those, and I'm putting up my quotes on this one, those resolutions. I would like to say goals, your vision for yourself, more than a resolution. But most people at the top of the year want to do some form of working out. So we want to know what your resistance is when it comes to working out. And we want to talk about some of the challenges and some of the things that you can do to get an effective workout in, still get your movement to have you ready for 2025. Walking into 2025, looking and feeling exactly the way that you desire. So we're going to talk a little bit about the gym, right? Because most people are intimidated by the gym, but this is not just about the gym, because you can effectively work out without going to the gym. But let's talk about the gym a little bit first, because people think, and I think this is what stops people right in their tracks, because they feel like, oh, in order for me to work out, in order for me to, get the body that I want, to be fit, to get more endurance, energy, that I have to be in the gym, right? Because when you look at social media, that's what people show you too. You have to be in a gym, you have to have this perfect, and I'm going to call it an Instagram body, right? Which most people don't have. And a lot of that is not real anyway. We're going to put that out there. But people think you have to do it at the gym. So what are some of the expectations around going to the gym? They're the cultural and societal expectations around going to the gym and the pressures behind that. Well, that's what people are pushing on you, right? But you don't need the gym in order for you to work out. So don't allow that to be the push. Most people think they need to get a trainer and they need to be in the gym, right? So what do you think about that, Dr. Melissa, when it comes to people putting that societal, standard on you?
I, as you see by my facial expressions, I'm not a gym person. I guess I'm that classic. No, I don't need to go to the gym. For a number of reasons. I'm not looking to do what you're doing next to me. So when that person is jogging on the treadmill or doing the steps, like, running, that to me sometimes is intimidating. So if I want to go to a gym, like, I want to get somewhere where I don't feel like I'm so much of a loser because I can't do all what you're doing right next to me. And I'm just being honest. That's what used to intimidate me. And if I couple that with, I'm now a lot smaller than I was, even 5 years ago. So me in the gym as an overweight person, that's intimidating. Because you're all fit with the muscles like that big and everything. So now you're like, I can't measure up. So even for the times I did, I used to go to gyms and I used to be in there, and I was just too intimidated to continue.
Yeah.
So I found myself doing what, I used to go to my own personal gym in my development. I would go when I knew nobody would be there. So I was a nighttime gym person. Yeah. So I would go at night when I knew most of the people that wanted to do their thing. They go early in the morning and sometimes during the day and right after work. I was that person that would end up in the gym at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, do my thing and get out of there. Yeah. So I think is being comfortable is a big piece of going to a gym.
Yeah. You said something really key though. Which is what I would love for people to keep in their minds as they're thinking about, especially if they want to go to it, if they want to go to a gym. I love that you said, I'm not worried about what the person is doing next to me, because that's key there. Because what gyms do, which I think they need to change a little bit, is you go in, right? And most gyms is a big open space.
Yeah.
So no matter where you are in that open space, and it doesn't mean that they have some private rooms. I think there should be a little bit more of that setup, but it's a large open space. And you can see in the gym that I go to, you can see everybody
working out
on all the different machines, working out. And it can be intimidating because you see people who, and I know just going there, right? The normal people, right? That go into the gym that are super duper fit. And a lot of times now, especially today, right, on social media, everybody's wearing small clothing, right? Because they want to show off their bodies,
right?
Barely any clothing, right? And it can be intimidating because then you're comparing, right? And that's human nature, right? So I love that you said, if you can get in your mind that I'm not going to worry about what the person's doing next to me. I can give you a trick. This is what I do. And I wish I had them with me. They're over in another space right now, but I have a set of headphones. I completely zone out.
Yeah.
I completely zone out with my headphones. I like to listen to gospel music when I'm in the gym because
Mm-hmm.
I'm praising and worshiping while I'm working out. My
Mm-hmm.
son my son always jokes because he says, "Mommy, I can hear you across the gym," because I'm completely zoned out. I'm not paying attention to anybody else. I'm praising. I'm doing what I got to do and getting out of there, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you can put yourself in a place where if the gym is where you want to go, because I will say this, right? There's equipment there that you may want to use that you won't have
At
in your
home, right,
home or in other smaller gyms, right?
right.
So if you want to go, see if you can do something for yourself that's going to allow you to zone out. The other thing is that a lot of them are male dominated, right? So you've got a lot of men that are, walking around pretty beefed up, I will say that, right? And trying to give you some unsolicited advice about how you should work out, because everybody in the gym who goes to the gym on a regular basis
Is an
knows
expert.
more than anybody else about working out, or so they think, right? So you may get some unsolicited advice when you go there. But if you zone out, then people won't bother you. I know this personally, right? People don't talk to me when I'm in the gym because I'm not available for them to talk to me.
Right, right, right.
You know, so if you can do that, make sure that you do. The other thing is just making sure that you understand how to use the equipment, right? They do have on the equipment, they tell you how. A good gym will have friendly trainers there that will help you.
Work the thing. And I think that's another big piece, Tracy.
Yeah.
If you're not a gym person, you don't know how to use the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So and another piece of being intimidated. I remember a couple of things. Oh, I would love to work, try that, but you don't want to be embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not. So I found myself at the beginning, like one of the things that I ended up loving was the elliptical.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know how to do the elliptical when I started. And so I was, like you said, intimidated and I wouldn't try. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I went back and my daughter came with me and she showed me, Mom, this is how you do it. And she took her time, showed me how to do it. And I said, I like this. And I started to, that was, became one of my favorite pieces of equipment to do in the gym. That being said, she took the time to show me. And like I said, and like you said, I think you have to become comfortable with the equipment and how to use it.
Yeah.
Especially, even a good treadmill, how to use it, how, that cord that you put on you to make sure all that stuff. If you don't understand it, learn it. And kudos to the gyms that make those friendly spaces. Because that's another piece. They have people in there. And a lot of times, which is the bad piece, which is another reason why a lot of people avoid it, is that now the trainers in the gym, they won't even come to a
They
me
won't
or
engage.
somebody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
They focus on the beefed up people, and they're struggling and they see it and they avoid you. So I think, I think the atmosphere has to be more open to anybody could be here. And those trainers should be trained to do that.
And
Because
I will tell you this, the gym that I worked for in New Jersey when I started this whole, health coaching journey and training, that was their motto, right? That you would engage with people that were coming to the gym to see how they were doing, to see if they needed any help, because really they wanted you to get clients, right? And the
yeah,
only way for you to really get clients is to engage with people and to really understand where people are and what they need and to help them in that way. So I love that that was, the way that they had their gym set up, the way that they trained the trainers in order to help anybody. You were supposed to help any and everybody that was coming in the gym. And the
yeah.
idea was, how can I help you where you are right now? How can I help you use the equipment? Even
Mm-hmm.
if you don't want to work out with me, even if you don't want me to be your trainer, how can I make sure that your gym experience is a good one? So that
There
you,
you go.
one, will come back to the
And I
gym.
think that's it. The
Two,
focus on your gym
yeah,
experience being a positive one.
yeah,
And I think those gyms that focus on that, they're the ones that would have me and other people that are intimidated in other gyms.
yeah.
So kudos to that. And and let's just be honest, some gyms are not for beginners.
Hmm.
Some gyms are made for those that are really committed to a 5 to 7 day training regimen. And that's okay too. But I
Hmm.
think to know the difference on what gym, because there's a lot of gyms around there, find the gym that you believe will be best for what you're looking for, so
Yeah,
that the focus could be, so that when you get there, you are comfortable.
yeah.
I
And
think
and
that's the key there. I know
yeah,
what.
And I would challenge that, right? Like if it's a larger gym, like you can get from every level you can get a workout, right? But is are you getting the assistance that you need is the bigger thing. But I will say this too, there are other gyms that have been popping up that are more of the like challenge spaces, right? And they're focused on the challenges versus equipment being beefed up. It's more about, how do you foster a healthy lifestyle? Let's go into this exercise challenge together as a community. So if that's something that you like, there are gyms out there now that are doing that. And they're not big on a whole lot of equipment. They're bigger on, let's get a good workout in. Let's do a challenge together. Let's support one another, and go ahead and get to whatever goal we have
Right.
for our lives. So there are those alternatives out there that you can do. The other thing I wanted to say about working out is calisthenics and your own body weight is a great way to get fit. And I will say this, most trainers that I have worked with will start there. Even if you are going to the big gym with the equipment, they don't just put you on equipment.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do that. You start out with your own body weight. And those are things that you can do from home. So if you can find yourself a good trainer that will work with you virtually, if you needed help there, or if you can find yourself a good video to follow or a good app to follow that's going to allow you to do the calisthenics that you need to work out with your own body weight and do it right from your home. There's always things in your house that you can use. You've got stairs, you've got water bottles, you've got walls, right?
I'm a shout out. I have to shout out now. I have to shout you out, Tracy. Tracy, you were one of the few people I always enjoyed you training me. Always enjoyed it. Enjoyed the workout. I mean, all of those things that you're talking about, using your body weight, you taught me that. You taught me how to, and you listen to, that's what I love the most. You listen to me. So if I said, I don't know how to do this or I can't do this, you would say, you know what, then modify it. Let's do it this way. And I think that's the kind of trainer. You're the type of trainer I know I need, always appreciated, and so many people are looking for, is that somebody that's listening to you, pushing you, but not pushing you to a point where you're frustrated. I think that's another piece that I know the average trainer has the best intentions. But I think knowing who your person is that you're training is knowing when enough is enough, giving them challenges. And that's what I liked about you also. You gave progressive challenges. It wasn't the first day, you said, okay, last week we did this. Okay, so this week I'm going to take it to, like, if we did a 10, you would say, okay, let's do it 15 now. That kind of thing. And that I'm not mad about that, because now you build me up. But when you push me at the beginning to a point where I don't, like, now I'm just frustrated, I'm not coming back next time. I may have done it, but I'm not coming back next time. You know what I'm saying?
You mentioned something key too, right? Like there's always a way to modify what you're doing, right? If it's not, like, if you're at a certain level, because everybody's at a different place, everybody's at a different level. And there's always a way to modify an exercise, whether you're on the equipment or you're doing your own body weight. There's always a way for you to get the most out of what you need to do right now and allow yourself to progressively get better at something, right? That's the idea. That should be the idea behind, when people are training you, to allow you to progress, not to push you so much to the point where you just fall out and then you're like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And then it's over.
And that's how I know I learned, especially when it comes to that kind of thing. Now I go to, I get therapy. So I do a lot of my exercises there, and they progressively move me. For me to be able to say I could do planks now is like unheard of, but I can, because it started with them taking, okay, let's try this. Okay, let's do it for 10 seconds. Oh, you could do, okay, oh, wow, you did it for 20. And now those kind of things have moved on. And now I could say, yeah, I could do that. I could do that. But it took them listening to me, progressively moving me, not pushing me too fast, but pushing me at a speed that I could handle. And I think that's what, I know that's what people like me who are intimidated by the gym. So I appreciate this conversation would need, is that kind of, people being sensitive to who I am.
Yeah. And, I love when you talk about that, like when you think about that you know who you are and how you operate. Every time I coach a person when it comes to just living a healthy lifestyle in general, but working out also, is you have to know how you operate. You got to be honest with yourself about who you are. If you're a person that can do something cold turkey, then by all means. But if you know you need a progressive way to build up your endurance and your strength and your energy, you have to do it that way. You cannot operate the way somebody else does, you know?
Yeah.
And I think what happens when we look at social media, we look at how other people are doing it and think that that's how we need to operate. You got to be realistic with yourself.
You do.
So we just want to tell you all out there, it is the top of the show, and it is the top of the year, and we're at the top of the hour now, at the end of the show, but it's the top of the year. And if you have goals where you want to get fit, you want to strengthen your body, you want to increase your energy, you want to just move more, by all means do it, but find out what works for you and do it your way to get results. And if you need the assistance, get the assistance that you need, that's going to allow you to put a plan in place that's going to have you looking and feeling exactly the way you want to for this 2025. And don't be intimidated. Do it your way and get it done. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's.
That's right.
So we love you. We will see you next week right here on Fem Talk.